This is a legendary comic novel. A book from 6 years ago climbed to the top of the trending searches because of a divine prophecy. It accurately predicted the situation between Russia and Ukraine. This led the novel to be banned and taken down from major platforms overnight. Today, this YouTuber is here to talk to you about the manga adapted from this novel. The story begins. My name is Dwan Jiang, and I'm 23 years old. Because life and work are not going well, I came to the rooftop to drink alone. I unintentionally saw a shooting star streak across the sky. Everyone says that making a wish on a shooting star is the most effective. Dwan Jiang immediately put his hands together and made a wish, hoping to find a good job for himself. Then I can get promoted, receive a raise, marry a beautiful and wealthy woman, and reach the pinnacle of life. Just as Dwan Jiang was fantasizing, he suddenly saw that this meteor could actually make a turn. It really was a rare sight to behold. Wait, why is this meteor coming towards me? Dwan Jiang, who didn't have time to dodge, was hit directly by the meteor. But he didn't die. Instead, he gained the ability to time travel. He can freely travel between his own time and the parallel universe of the apocalypse. After his testing, he found that this tattoo bracelet requires energy to meet the conditions for crossing. It approximately needs around 100 degrees of electricity. And this thing also has a storage space of about 1 cubic meter. It can carry any supplies. With this external device, Dwan Jiang immediately started time traveling. On his first time travel journey, he arrived at an abandoned house. He could tell from the rundown appearance that it had been uninhabited for a long time. Dwan Jiang prepared to peer through the window to see what the world outside was like. Suddenly, he saw a giant zombie pass by. This scared Dwan Jiang and he shuddered. The outside world is too dangerous. I should go back home. After returning from the journey, Dwan Jiang found that just one round trip had already depleted the energy of his tattoo bracelet. He had to recharge it first. So he took out the plug and inserted both thumbs into it. Please everyone, never attempt such a dangerous act. Accompanied by a crackling sound. Dwan Jiang finally finished charging the battery. It was torture for him. After finishing, Dwan Jiang felt it necessary to visit that world again. In case he missed any treasures, it would be a big loss. However, he couldn't go empty-handed like last time. He needed to prepare first. So Dwan Jiang went to the supermarket. He bought canned ham, instant noodles, and other food that would last for 3 days. After all, it's better to be safe than sorry. After getting everything ready, Dwan Jiang once again arrived at Apocalypse, and this time finally landed perfectly. Unlike the last time, it was a complete mess. Standing up, Dwan Jiang looked around and found it very quiet. It seems like the zombies here also prefer to act at night, but still need to be careful. After all, this is his second time living in an apocalypse. Dwan Jiang is getting ready to find a safe place as a base. Then, he won't need to travel randomly next time. Suddenly, his eyes light up. Dwan Jiang found a very suitable place. It's the large villa in front of him. Seeing nobody around, he opened the window and climbed in. He didn't expect that as soon as he entered, something unknown grabbed his ankle. Dwan Jiang was so scared that he kicked directly over. He took a closer look and found a gorgeous beauty. Dwan Jiang quickly picked up the beauty and prepared for artificial respiration. But he heard the beauty say she wanted water. Dwan Jiang, who didn't think much about it, took out a bottle of mineral water from his backpack and fed it to the beauty. Who would have thought that after drinking the water, she would say she was hungry? Luckily, Dwan Jiang brought plenty of food. He turned around and took out a can from his backpack. He saw the beautiful woman looking pitiful with her injury. Dwan Jiang was very warm-hearted as he fed the food to her mouth. However, little did he expect that after helping the well-fed beauty, who was a wolf in sheep's clothing, she would tie Dwan Jiang up. Then she began to interrogate him. After she found out his name was Dwan Jiang, she mocked that the name was too sissy. This is outrageous. How can I, a man of 8 feet tall, let others call me Sissy. So he hurriedly explained to the beauty. Who would have expected the beauty to kick directly towards the crotch? Dwan Jiang was scared witless. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I don't mind helping you end your ancestral line. Answer my questions as they come. Do you understand? Then she asked where Dwan Jiang is from. The modern Dwan Jiang could only laugh and say he came from the north. Where did you get this can of cola from? Indeed, everyone loves happy fat house water. Dwan Jiang stammered and didn't know how to explain. The impatient beauty kicked again. At this moment, Dwan Jiang's heart was very overwhelmed. He yelled at the beauty. Can you not scare my little darling? If you dare, just kill me. Just as the words were spoken, the beauty's gun was pointing at Dwan Jiang's forehead. Since that's the case, then I'll grant your wish, she said. Is this how you treat someone who saved your life? The beauty was taken aback and also felt that she had gone too far. She then took back the gun. Dwan Jiang took the opportunity to express that he had no malicious intentions. He had come here just to exchange some useful things. The beauty simply doesn't believe it. What else is worth scheming in this apocalypse town? I'm afraid I can't even find a piece of bread. Dwan Jiang, on the other hand, claimed to come from a relatively wealthy place. There is a lot of food there. Perhaps we can cooperate. If you become my guide, I can offer you a generous reward. And this carrot is a gift for you. Ordinary people in apocalypse have never seen such fresh vegetables. She turned her head and started munching on it like crazy. Then the two of them officially reached a cooperation agreement. The reward is 10 cans of curry chicken chunks plus a side of rice. The Third World War began in the year 2171. The war led to global exposure to nuclear radiation. The ecological environment suffered catastrophic destruction. Various organisms have undergone uncontrollable mutations due to nuclear radiation. Dwan Jiang is trying to prevent attacks from these mutated zombies. Dwan Jiang decided to temporarily use this mansion as a base. Then he instructed his recruited beautiful female employee Jiao Sun to seal up all the windows here. But Jiao Sun felt it was pointless. Zombies wouldn't even come in. But Dwan Jiang's intention is not to guard against zombies, but rather that human beings in the human apocalypse are the most terrifying. Jiao Sun asked him how to deliver the supplies here. Dwan Jiang looked confident. The hermit has his own clever plan, so you don't need to worry about it. Suddenly, he saw a pile of electronic devices underground. This is really good stuff. It's absolutely high-tech for modern times. However, after the nuclear explosion, these things are all unusable and have become a pile of scrap metal. Dwan Jiang thinks that since these things have existed before, there must be someone who can create them again. He just needs to find these people to work for me, and he will be able to bring back Apocalypse's technology to the present. Dwan Jiang regards this as a plan for the future. Then he asked Jiao Sun if there was a map of this area nearby. But Jiao Sun asked him if he had an EP wristband. I can send it to you. Dwan Jiang from modern would never have something like that. Jiao Sun then took off his EP and gave it to him. After Dwan Jiang put on the EP bracelet, it displayed his physical condition. With this, he can monitor his body data at any time, which is essential for surviving in this apocalypse. Jiao Sun saw that none of Dwan Jiang's abilities exceeded 20. She scoffed and said, "You are the worst man I've ever seen." Dwan Jiang, who was being mocked, said, "Do you want to give it a try?" But when seeing the handgun behind Jiao Sun, he immediately flinched. This woman is too dangerous. It is better not to provoke her. Taking care of business first is essential. To him, this world is full of treasures everywhere. Those seemingly worn-out devices. Bringing one back casually can stir up a storm in the present world. But he rashly took these high-tech items back to sell them. He's afraid that he's going to be dissected and researched. Therefore, he wants to get rich, and gold is the best choice. It is easy to cash in and won't attract attention. Jiao Sun heard but couldn't believe. What are you going to do with that thing? Indeed, for apocalypse. This kind of smelly and hard gold is completely worthless. The beautiful woman in front of me is carrying a bag of 30 kilograms of gold. Exchanged a loaf of bread with Dwan Jiang. That's how she deeply moved the beautiful woman. Worried that she wouldn't be full with just a piece of bread, Dwan Jiang generously gave her an extra can. This even moved Jiao Sun to the brink of tears. In this apocalypse wasteland, she has seen people killing each other for a bit of food and encountered cannibals who wanted to stew her into braised pork belly. But the man in front of me selflessly gave me so much food. You are a good person. To repay Dwan Jiang, Jiao Sun, tidy up and get ready to go find the gold. Before leaving, Dwan Jiang asked if he could check your EP status. Upon hearing this, Jiao Sun brought up the interface display. Seeing that Jiao Sun's data was much higher than his own, Dwan Jiang had a shocked expression. This is almost close to being a superhero. When Jiao Sun leaves, Dwan Jiang will also set off to travel back to the modern era. After he comes back this time, he must bring more supplies with him. That's all money. Dwan Jiang looked at the tattoo bracelet and felt that it needed to be charged. Dwan Jiang looked at the power strip next to him. He decisively refused. This thing charges too slowly. He went directly to the power distribution box in the neighborhood. He grabbed the wires with both hands. After a crackling sound, the whole neighborhood lost power and fell into darkness. And our culprit was also looking confused at that moment. He then ran away swiftly. Sometimes retreat is the best strategy. He still needs to resolve the issue of charging quickly. Each time it's like this, the people in the community suffer, and Dwan Jiang can't take it. Soon his stomach started growling from hunger. He had to fill his stomach first before doing anything else. Before long, both meat and vegetables were prepared. Now he felt it would be wonderful to have a good meal. If this steaming hot meal were placed in the apocalypse, I wonder how many beauties would be willing to throw themselves at it. Dwan Jiang, who has eaten and drunk his fill, is ready to cross over to the apocalypse again. After emptying his entire refrigerator, he returned to the mansion in the apocalypse. This time, he found that less than half of the energy was consumed during the time travel. Could it be that the electricity supply in the neighborhood is strong? Then I might as well switch to high voltage power next time. Shortly after, Dwan Jiang saw the distribution box in a room. He found that it could still operate after opening it. The power supply for the entire mansion was restored. Not long after, Jiao Sun returned to the mansion with a large bag of gold. She found a bank vault, but it was sealed with steel plates. We want to obtain a large amount of gold. Either blast it open with high-powered explosives, or find a skilled hacker to crack the electronic lock. Dwan Jiang asked Jiao Sun if there is a way to get these two things. Jiao Sun mentioned that not far from here, there is a survivor base called Orange Town. However, the entrance fee is a bit expensive. It costs 1 subcrystal just to enter. Jiao Sun explained that subcrystals are crystals condensed by powerful mutated zombies. In such a small piece, there are 37 subcrystals. After Dwan Jiang brought the subcrystal over, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the subcrystal could actually charge the time travel bracelet. With this, wouldn't he no longer need to worry about running out of power? Dwan Jiang immediately expressed his intention to exchange 4 cans for Jiao Sun's 37-point subcrystal. Jiao Sun naturally agreed to this good deal without hesitation. Just recently, in order to reward Jiao Sun for finding the gold, something good happened. Dwan Jiang made his specialty dish, tomato and egg stir-fry. Jiao Sun, living in Apocalypse, had never tasted such delicious cuisine. He immediately switched on his rice bucket mode and devoured it like a starving dog. She didn't know how to describe this feeling. She felt like Dwan Jiang was a character stepped out of a fairy tale. It was so unreal. In the shelter, they would refer to the pre-war days as fairy tales. The people there are living happy lives, with families, friends, and even lovers. No matter how you think about it, this kind of life is like a fairy tale. Dwan Jiang quietly listened to Jiao Sun's storytelling. The fairy tale that you yearn for isn't actually as beautiful as you think. He then went to the refrigerator and brought back a bunch of beer. Where we come from, if there's any trouble, we'll drink a few cups. Jiao's son, who was drinking alcohol for the first time, thought that the taste of this thing was not as good as cola. But she got tipsy while drinking it. Her behavior also became unrestrained. She was dragging Dwan Jiang, not returning until drunk. Soon, a large pile of beer was drunk up by them. Dwan Jiang also revealed the purpose of drinking with the woman. He shouted that he wanted Jiao's son to experience my skills. He said, as he pinned Jiao's son to the ground. He wanted to have his way with her. But Jiao's son grabbed Dwan Jiang's collar and flipped him over, saying, "I'll be on top this time." I will present the following plot for all the esteemed audience members. It's quite exciting anyway. Gentlemen viewers, please be generous and subscribe. 4 hours later, the little chick, who has been through 10 battles, is exhausted and lying on the ground. Dwan Jiang, lying in bed, said that he would take responsibility. Then Baba said a lot of sweet words that moved Jiao's son to tears. She rolled over directly and pressed Dwan Jiang underneath her. This action scared Dwan Jiang's little chicken beyond recognition. I can only watch it for you on YouTube later. In short, my evaluation is that it is not as good as before. The next day, the two of them prepared to go to the survivor base to inject the vaccine into Dwan Jiang. On the way, Dwan Jiang only felt his eyes blurry and his legs weak. The intense exercise from last night was still too much. Jiao's son, on the other hand, was full of energy. It's true that there is no land that cannot be cultivated, only tired cows. Suddenly, the two heard gunshots nearby. They then quickly ran forward to investigate. They found that the survivor team was hunting the mutated flesh mountain near the base. This flesh mountain is 50 meters tall, comparable to Godzilla, and is a nemesis to all individual weapons. The terrifying sense of oppression made Dwan Jiang swallow hard. This thing can only be taken down with a Type 99 anti-tank gun. Jiao's son found the team leader, showed him the genetic code. Then she explained to Dwan Jiang, "This is something like our ID card. It can prove a person's uniqueness." After the inspection, the two of them officially entered the survivor base. In the food-scarce apocalypse, survivors need to make use of all available resources. Monster fat can be used as fertilizer or refined into nutrients. These can be used for the survival of the lower-class survivors. Upon hearing this, Dwan Jiang said he would rather die than eat this stuff. Shortly afterwards, he followed Jiao's son into the base. They arrived at the outer market. Dwan Jiang was shocked to see that women were being sold here. Jiao's son explained that these were all cloned humans cultivated using cloning technology and nutrient solution. It is more accurate to say they are commodities rather than human beings. These are technologies spread from the shelter. The two arrived at the pawn shop. Dwan Jiang took out the canned food to exchange for subcrystal. The robot was almost shocked to malfunction after scanning and inspecting. It found a canned beef that had not been irradiated at all and was of perfect quality. The excited robot leaned against the window and asked if there were any similar products like Dwan Jiang. The robot heard that there were many more and immediately invited Dwan Jiang to move to the VIP room for transaction settlement. Then a big beauty and a Cheongsam came over to take him to the VIP room. The beauty saw Jiao's son following along as well. She sighed quietly, as if something good had been ruined. The transaction was completed quickly. Each chem was exchanged for 50 subcrystals. In Jiao's son's view, Dwan Jiang is definitely a big sucker. But only Dwan Jiang himself knows. He's the one who's making a killing. After all, just a little bit of subcrystal can charge the time travel bracelet by 30%. Canned food, he has as much as he wants. Continuing, Jiao's son chuckled and asked Dwan Jiang if he knew where the VIP room was. That's actually a place that provides special services. And it's a full suite of services. Everything you can think of, and even things you can't imagine are available. This really stimulates Dwan Jiang a lot. But with Jiao Sun by my side, how can I have other thoughts? I immediately expressed that I still prefer playing poker with you. Suddenly, Jiao Sun glanced around and spotted someone following. She immediately kissed Dwan Jiang to make the person following think they were a couple being affectionate, so as not to startle the snake. Then she took his hand and brought him to the vaccination site to get him vaccinated with the T-type vaccine. This vaccine can prevent infection with the zombie bacteria. Also, make sure he is injected with the C-level genetic enhancement drug. It can improve physical fitness. This way, the two of them playing poker won't suffer from back pain. At night, Jiao Sun went out and caught the people who were tracking them. After undergoing severe torture and questioning, they only found out that they were targeted by the Grey Goo mercenaries right after they entered the pawn shop for the transaction. Seeing that the two of them were still coming out of the VIP room, they immediately had someone follow them, ready to act later in the evening. After understanding the situation, Dwan Jiang shot the person who was following them. How accurate is a woman's intuition? Jiao Sun had already sensed that Dwan Jiang did not belong here. She was afraid that after he left, she would once again become that helpless wasteland survivor. To comfort Jiao Sun, Dwan Jiang started playing poker with her. It's tiring to watch this YouTube video. Everyone feels the same way. Let's just move on and think about something else. After finishing, Dwan Jiang looked at his perfect body. No wonder his waist is not sore, and his back does not hurt this time. It seems that this genetic drug is not a counterfeit. The next day, Dwan Jiang came to the refugee camp on the base's side. He is looking to buy a computer genius to infiltrate the electronic locks of a bank vault. But he hasn't been able to find a satisfactory one after searching around. Just then, a little girl rushed over and hugged Dwan Jiang's thigh. She volunteered herself, saying that she is good with computers. She asked Dwan Jiang to take her home. She was grabbed by the collar before she could finish her sentence. The little girl will face severe punishment next. Dwan Jiang couldn't bear it and decided to buy the little girl. The girl named Rainbow Yao belonged to Dwan Jiang as his personal property after he signed the document. Shortly after, Dwan Jiang took her back to the hotel. But for safety reasons, a full-body examination is needed for Rainbow Yao by Jiao Sun. She then tore Rainbow's clothes to pieces as she spoke. This caused Dwan Jiang's nose to bleed profusely. She didn't find any signaling devices or weapons after the inspection. Dwan Jiang was going to remove the electronic collar from Rainbow Yao's neck, but he didn't expect her to obediently step back and refuse directly. For people like them, removing the electronic collar means being distrusted by their owners. To help Little Rainbow let down her guard and quickly integrate into the group, Dwan Jiang prepared a table full of food to welcome her. However, Little Rainbow stood still, looking at the delicious meal as if she were dreaming. Dwan Jiang quickly called her over to eat before being eaten up by your sister Jiao Sunday. For Little Rainbow, perhaps this moment is the happiest for her. The next day, the three of them prepared to return to the villa. Unfortunately, they were targeted by the Grey Goo mercenaries again. They have set up an ambush on the route they must take back. Jiao Sun, who discovered them early, is preparing to strike first. She threw a bomb that caught the mercenaries off guard. The three took the opportunity to break through the mercenaries' encirclement. The green moss turtle was angered and let out a loud cry. Soon after, the three of them hid in a large building, preparing to deal with the pursuers from the mercenary group. Green Moss Turtle and his men quickly caught up and chased after them. But in the next moment, Green Moss Turtle was shot in the head. The remaining few people were also indiscriminately shot dead by Dwan Jiang and Jiao Sun. At that moment, mercenaries fell dead and injured. The remaining people quickly took cover behind the barriers. Dwan Jiang, who was high on adrenaline, continued firing his gun indiscriminately. Then he was pinned down by Jiao Sunday. "What's going on? Are bullets free? Does your family own a mine or something?" Dwan Jiang quickly said. I play games too much usually, lost control for a moment. At that moment, the mercenary group's support arrived. The fierce firepower suppressed Dwan Jiang and others, making them afraid to show themselves. According to the plan, they can only retreat first. Jiao Sun stays behind to provide cover. Jiao Sun then also turned around and left the original location. The perverted uncle with a Gatling gun also stopped the attack. He started trash-talking instead. I didn't expect him to be taken down by Jiao Sun in the next moment. Then she threw a bomb at them. Jiao Sun calmly left the scene. Jiao Sun and Dwan Jiang soon arrived at the sewer. They are preparing to return to the base from here. A bullet flew towards Dwan Jiang from a distance at high speed. At this critical moment, Jiao Sun pushed the two people standing in front away, only to see the bullet directly shot through her entire arm. They encountered cannibals in the sewer. They came to the sewer to deal with the pursuers, a group of mercenaries. Jiao Sun handed a detonator to Dwan Jiang. She has filled the building above the sewer with bombs. Dwan Jiang took over and directly slid to detonate the bomb. The entire building and the mercenaries were instantly wiped out. Then the three of them prepared to return to the base through the sewer. But they did not expect to encounter an ogre dwelling in the dark sewer. Injured Jiao Sun held his arm and asked Dwan Jiang to quickly take Little Rainbow away. She stayed behind to deal with the ogre and buy some time for the two of them. At that moment, Dwan Jiang suddenly felt a surge of power entering his body. His eyes turned red and fangs grew in his mouth, resembling a vampire. He struck the monster in front of him with a palm. The hunting moment began. Dwan Jiang rushed into the group of monsters with a gun in his right hand and a palm strike in his left hand. Wherever he passed, blood splattered on the spot, and the cannibals were sure to be eliminated. The violent power drove Dwan Jiang completely insane. Dealing with the cannibals was a piece of cake for him. After a moment, all the ogres fell. Only Dwan Jiang stood in the middle of the scene. On the other side, Jiao Sun was very worried about Dwan Jiang's condition. It would be very dangerous to continue like this. She asked Little Rainbow to quickly catch up and take a look. At this time, Dwan Jiang had already woken up and, swaying, was preparing to walk back. Suddenly, an ogre opened its eyes and slowly drew out a dagger. He grabbed Dwan Jiang's bare foot and tripped him down. Then he brandished a dagger and stabbed toward Dwan Jiang. He flipped over and blocked the fatal blow, entering a stalemate with the ogre. Dwan Jiang, who was already extremely weak, had reached the limit of his physical endurance. Just as he was about to give in, a gunshot suddenly rang out. It turned out to be Little Rainbow arriving. He picked up the gun by his side and ended the ogre's evil life. Dwan Jiang, who could no longer hold on, also fainted. After opening his eyes again, he found himself back at the base. Only after asking Jiao Sun did he understand that he had entered frenzy mode yesterday due to being stimulated. All this is caused by the injection of genetic drugs. Normally, genetic drugs only modify 3 basic abilities. But accidents happen. A very small number of people will gain mutant abilities. For example, Jiao Sun, her ability is resilience. As long as she doesn't receive a mortal wound, she can recover completely in a short period of time. After Dwan Jiang opened the EP interface, he indeed found a new special ability, Berserk. When activated, the body's strength and reaction speed will be greatly enhanced. He can also sense the location of the heart of all creatures around him by using any one of his 5 senses. The maximum duration is half an hour. However, Jiao Sun warned that this ability should be used sparingly, as the side effects are too severe. If you do not kill the enemy, then your fate will only have one outcome. In fact, this kind of ability can also be controlled through medication. After a period of training, you can then freely activate the skill by yourself without being affected by emotions. Dwan Jiang then told the two that he would leave for some time, approximately for around a month. Upon hearing this, Jiao Sun reluctantly kissed goodbye to Dwan Jiang. However, unexpectedly Little Rainbow also wanted to bid him farewell with a kiss. This made Dwan Jiang laugh happily. He didn't notice the fierce jealousy behind him at all. After that, Dwan Jiang put the recently acquired gold into his bag. He bid farewell to the two and left. He then traveled back to the real world. The familiar noise in the ears. The sound was coming from the road outside the window. These sounds are in Dwan Jiang's ears. But it is as enchanting as celestial music. At this moment, Dwan Jiang just wants to shout out, "Long live world peace!" By the way, he still has important matters to attend to. He has to first weigh how many caddies of gold there are. These gold bars can only be fantasized about by Dwan Jiang, who has a monthly income of 3,000 yuan. However, at this moment, it has become a reality. 71 caddies. Oh my god! If this gold is calculated at 200 yuan per gram, that would be a total of more than 7 million. Wow! This time I really made it. So much money to buy a car and a house, it's definitely enough. Oh, I almost forgot, the Apocalypse Bank's entire vault is waiting for me to move. Thinking of Dwan Jiang's mind. Can't help but think of that enchanting figure. Also, Little Rainbow's sudden kiss when we parted. In fact, Little Rainbow has been dormant for 32 years. Is this considered a legal Lolita? Thoughts of Dwan Jiang came to mind shamelessly. Forget it, what's there to think about? Lao Zi is back to enjoy life. Anyway, I'll have lunch first. Then I'll deal with the gold. Anyway, the entire bank vault is mine. As for this little money, enjoy it first. Since I'm back, I should relax a bit. Thinking of this, Dwan Jiang recalled the past. He bought a top-of-the-line holographic computer from Apocalypse. According to the boss, there are still a lot of good things stored inside. This makes Dwan Jiang somewhat impatient to open and take a look.